What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Monday edition of For the Love of Wrestling, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Again, happy Monday, and we have got a lot of stuff to discuss and get into today as I just wrap up very quickly, getting my tweet out there, letting people know that we are live. And then we will get underway. Give you guys a couple more seconds to get in here. And there we go. All right. How is everybody doing this Monday morning? Hopefully, it's not too much of a downer for everybody. Hopefully, everybody is having a good day so far. Cheers to you too, Cleaver. Good to see you. Trying to keep a positive outlook as we push towards a fun-filled Saturday across the multiverse of media. It is going to be a hectic but fun-filled week. As Jeff points out, the first broadcast on any page throughout the JMN during this bonker time known as Disney Week all culminates with Full Gear and Disney-oki on Saturday night. Yes, and I've been working out a fun little introduction for Disney-oki next week, Meacham. I'll have to hit you with it when we get off the air in between now and Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, which will be at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 Eastern. Not too long from now. You got a couple hours to get ready for that. Jeff and I are going to discuss the top 10 non-Disney animated movies. So it's Disney week, and we're already hitting you with that Russo swerve, bro. We're going to do non-Disney cartoon movies, bro. How you going to do non-Disney animated movies, bro, on Disney week, bro? I'm just saying, bro. Going to hit you with that Russo swerve early, bro. Yes, we definitely would love for the Cleaver to make an appearance on Saturday night. Meacham, make a note for us to send the Cleaver a link come Saturday so we can get the Cleaver doing some Disney-oki. I think we can get the Cleaver to do some metal renditions of Disney songs. That would be awesome. So, without any further ado, let's get down to business. No, we're not going to defeat any Huns today, but we are going to coin a phrase, we're going to talk some wrestling. Hashtag stealing sticks. But I digress. First up is AEW Rampage, and Rampage began with Ricky Starks versus Preston Vance. Now, this was a fun opening matchup. Nothing too serious. Preston got to show some good offense, but you knew he wasn't going to win against Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks has been on a roll for the better part of this last year. It was good, kind of ruined by Big Bill interfering at the end, allowing Starks to get the victory. Post-match, Rush and Dralistico came out to check on their friend. Since Preston is a part of La Faction Ingobernables, and I know I say that wrong every time, but I'm trying. Y'all forgive me. We then go backstage and we see Renee Paquette with Jericho talking about his match with Takeshita this coming Sunday in Japan, which of course that's already happened. If you want to know about that, I'm sure the simple man with the spectacular voice, Noah Foster, will be discussing it at some point this week. As we know, he watches all things professional wrestling. Damn it, but we digress. We then go backstage to Lexi, who is with Don Callis and Prince Nana. And if you noticed, the graphic for this episode of For the Love of Wrestling had a screen cap from that. And we find out that Callis has rented the services of Brian Cage for Dynamite this coming week. In the big 8-man tag team match that will emanate from Ontario, California, and I'm kicking myself that I'm not going to be able to be there for that one. But it is what it is, as it'll be Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Brian Cage versus Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Chris Jericho, and Paul White. It's going to be a moment to have the Golden Lovers and Jericho teaming up in Ontario, just down the hill from me, and I can't go. But it is what it is. Priorities over passions. Jeff says, go easy on the Renegade. It's not easy to channel El Renegado de Lucha Libre at a moment's notice. Exactly. See. Stat Boy in the house. Good morning. Good afternoon, my internet fans. Busy prep day as we get ready for tomorrow's sports bar. Absolutely. Good to see you here, Stat Boy. Thank you for joining along. We then go backstage with JEFF, JARRE, ha ha, ain't he great, and his crew. And they talk about Jay Lethal's upcoming title shot against Eddie Kingston. Ortiz comes in, gets jumped. It was a mediocre segment. I love the fact that Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal are still very prominent figures in the wrestling bubble. I wish they were doing something better than working with Eddie Kingston, though. Just, it's well documented across the multiverse that I've never been a big Kingston fan. Just kind of is what it is. We then got Ruby Soho versus Red Velvet. And the match started out decent enough. Ruby dominated most of the match. And then one of the production assistants delivered flowers to Ruby, distracting her, almost allowing Red Velvet to get the win. At this point, the match got a little bit sloppy, being honest, not being nitpicky, and Red Velvet was able to keep the offense coming and get the surprise win. I was honestly very, very shocked that Red Velvet got the victory over Ruby Soho. We then had the Kingdom take on somebody in a squash match. Like, I didn't even catch their name. It was over that quickly. You know me and the squash matches here. Squash match next. We then had a backstage segment, and honestly, one of my favorite segments of the entire show. Lexi was backstage with Daniel Garcia, Daddy Magic Matt Menard, and Cool Hand Angelo Parker. And Garcia says that he's going to challenge Andrade to a match on Collision. During all this, Saraya and Ruby come in, and Ruby kind of realizes that the flowers were from Cool Hand Angelo Parker. As y'all remember, they've been kind of getting flirty the last couple weeks. And for the most part, Ruby's been resisting the charms of Angelo. But it looks like things are getting a little bit further. Take a look at this screen cap that I gathered. You can kind of see it in the back there. Ruby's kind of digging this, and Cool Hand Ange is just kind of, he's digging it back. Like he knows that his charm is winning Ruby over. And I'm enjoying the hell out of this because they just look like polar opposites, and they're just finding this way to each other. I'm going to be curious to see where things go from here. Saraya and Daddy Magic mentioned to each other that they have some problems that need to be addressed, referring to Ruby for Saraya and Ange for Daddy Magic. Again, probably my favorite segment of the show. Looking forward to seeing where this goes and develops. Are you guys enjoying the seemingly budding romance of Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho? Let me know in the comments. We then had Darius Martin and Action Andretti backstage with Lexi. Roderick Strong and the Kingdom come in. I don't really recall what happened here, but Roddy said that he is going to start asserting himself, and Darius Martin is going to be his first victim. We then had Commander and El Hijo del Vikingo versus FTR. This was our Rampage main event of the evening. Good solid match from all four men, but not as oh my god spectacular as you would expect from these four men either. The Shatter Machine got FTR the victory. We then see the House of Black on the big screen, applauding before disappearing into the darkness, and Rampage ended. Jeff says, as cute as the story is, he's hoping it pays off and moves on in full gear. You know, if they were still doing their quarterly pay-per-views, I would say yes. But I think that they can stretch this out till World's End, keeping the momentum going. I hope we get a little bit more out of this. I do want to see it all wrapped up by the end of the year, though. I will give you that. At least as far as the initial set up, if they're going to keep Cool Hand Ange and Ruby as a couple going forward on TV, that's fine. But the wooing, if you will, I think that we need to get that part over and done with before the end of the year. That way we can go into Valentine's Day with them as a couple, and I think that would be some cute television as well. But the initial payoff needs to be by World's End, and Jeff concedes that with it being only a month and a half away. So that was it for Rampage. As you guys know, when we do this big show on Monday, I always try to get a few commercial plugs in there. So we're going to take our first 40-second commercial. That's all it's going to be, just a quick bumper. We're going to take a look at all of the upcoming open mic night specials that'll be coming across the multiverse, beginning with this Saturday in Disney-oki and going into next year. We'll be right back in 40 seconds. So much in store as far as specials across the multiverse and open mic night, beginning this coming Saturday with Disney-oki and going all the way through next year. Game show nights, karaoke nights, and so much more. Make sure you stay tuned in to the entirety of the multiverse of media to find out more information about the events that haven't been announced yet. So then we go into SmackDown, and the LWO began the show as Rey Mysterio discusses losing the United States Championship to Logan Paul. Carlito comes out, and Carlito says that Rey is blaming the wrong person, that he should be blaming Santos Escobar for leaving the brass knuckles that Logan Paul used for the one lucky shot to defeat Rey Mysterio. Santos leaves, and Rey and Zelina Vega chase him, leaving Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde behind with Carlito for his upcoming match with Bobby Lashley. Opening contest was Carlito versus Lashley, and this was Carlito's first SmackDown match in 13 years, and the rekindling of an old rivalry. Lashley got the victory, of course, off of the spear, while Carlito was distracted by the Street Profits and the LWO fighting on the outside of the ring. Post-match, Santos returned, followed by Rey Mysterio, and Santos turns heel on Rey. I will get a little bit more in depth into the Santos thing in a minute, but we finally got the heel turn that we've been expecting, and I think it was well executed. This is a crazy ass SmackDown. And Statboy says Logan Paul taking the U.S. title to the extreme, saying that he never takes it off of his waist. Well, Statboy, if you were a true statistician, and if you really did your research, I'm going to call you out here, you would know that is a lie. There it is, clearly not on Logan's waist, as he sat ringside for UFC 295. And as well, you can see right here, give it 1 second. You can see right here, it is also not on his waist, as it sits on the podium while Logan Paul is on Varney & Co. on Fox Business. Now, for all the people that still are wondering why WWE would give this person, this celebrity, the United States Championship, this right here is why. Logan is on Fox Business discussing the success of Prime, and what is right there front and center? The United States Championship. Logan is sitting ringside for UFC 295, and what's front and center? The United States Championship. This is why WWE put the title on Logan Paul. Backstage, Santos is leaving the arena, and he's asked why he attacked Rey, and he says that Rey deserved it. We then get a Bayley promo, and Bayley says that she had a vision for Io and Dakota ever since the formation of Damage Control. She says that she was blindsided by Kairi Sane's return at Crown Jewel and calls Io out. Io, Dakota, and Kairi Sane come out, and Bayley shows footage of Kairi's last appearance on SmackDown back from 2020, and Bayley beating Kairi up, saying that she's worried about Kairi being back, and is there going to be animosity here? Dakota tells her that they brought Kairi back to Damage Control in order to make Damage Control stronger and to take some of the weight off of Bayley's shoulders as the leader. And Kairi says that she respects and forgives Bayley. Bianca Belair then comes out and starts jaw-jacking as Bianca do. Charlotte Flair comes out to have the back of Bianca, and Asuka comes out to have their back. And we have a trios match set for later in the evening, as it'll be Bayley, Io, and Kairi versus Bianca, Charlotte, and Asuka. Let's see here. Jeff says Logan's going to be a married man soon anyway, so the action below the waist won't amount to much. And Emmanuel, what's going on, Emmanuel? Good to see you here. As Logan Paul took the Bart Simpson route in boxing, that he retires undefeated. Hey, smart man. Smart man. We then had Cedric Alexander versus Dragon Lee. Another good match between the two, but the result was still the same. Dragon Lee gets the victory. We then had an LA Knight Grayson Waller promo segment, and this was just braggadocious. That's about all I can really say about this. You know, Grayson Waller's running his mouth. LA Knight, yeah, running his mouth. We then got a match between the two of them, and it was a good match by both men. Both men were made to look great in the match. Kevin Owens, who I forgot to mention, was on commentary for SmackDown. Was hilarious on commentary. Just so good in this match. Blunt Force Trauma got the victory once again for one L.A. Knight. Yeah. We then had Grayson Waller come back out with Austin Theory, and they provoke KO so that he lays hands on them. Now, the whole thing here is that Nick Aldis, the general manager of SmackDown, told KO that he could do commentary. And for those of you that don't know, the reason he was on commentary is because Corey Graves wasn't there as Carmella gave birth last Wednesday. Congratulations to Corey and Carmella for having a baby after all of the stress and the miscarriages and everything else that plagued them as a couple trying to conceive their own child. Congratulations to the fact that one finally took, stayed to term, and you were able to give birth to a healthy baby boy. But that's why Corey wasn't there. KO was kind of taking his spot. So with KO laying hands on Waller and Theory, KO has now been suspended temporarily. Don't know how long. Not sure if he's injured and that's how they're going to work him being out of action for a while. We'll get more news, and as we get it, we will give it to you as we always do across the multiverse of media. Jimmy Uso then cuts a backstage promo calling out LA Knight for next week. A lot of people were pointing out on social media that the poster that Jimmy was standing next to had the 4 stars going down on it, much like the stars across Punk's tights. Is this another reference to CM Punk and another clue that Punk is coming back? You know, we'll find out in a couple of weeks. Some people are still saying CM Punk is coming back at Survivor Series. Some people are saying, not going to happen. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture. If you get that, then you're old like me. And if you don't get it, I'm sorry. Go watch some Dana Carvey Saturday Night Live. Statboy says LA Knight wins Rumble at 24. See, the problem is there's so many viable people that could win the Rumble right now that you can't really predict where it's going to go. You've got Gunther, who went bell to bell last year and is still rocking and rolling as Intercontinental Champion. You've got LA Knight. You got Cody Rhodes. You've got, if we get a debut in the Men's Rumble, there's a lot of different ways that it can go. I would say let's wait until the new year before we start making those type of bold predictions. But it's always a possibility, bro. Main event for the evening, Bayley, Io, and Kairi Sane versus Bianca, Asuka, and Charlotte. Yes, I put Charlotte last for a reason. Don't come at me. This was a great match from a storyline perspective. Bianca was getting dominated for a good chunk of the match. Went to get the hot tag from Asuka, only to take the mist to the eyes again. And Asuka turned heel, aligning with Damage Control. The match gets thrown out. Shotzi comes out and tries to assist Charlotte and Bianca, but to no avail. And at the end of the night, Bayley, Io, Kairi, Asuka, and Dakota are all standing tall over the wrecked bodies of Bianca, Charlotte, and Shotzi as SmackDown goes off the air. Obviously, this is going to build towards a match at Survivor Series, whether it's traditional elimination, whether it's War Games. You're more than likely going to have Bayley, Io, Kairi, and Asuka versus Bianca, Charlotte, Shotzi, and question mark. A lot of people are saying Jade Cargill here. I disagree. Much as I love Jade, I don't think this is the way to debut her. People are saying Becky Lynch because Becky was in the ring when Damage Control made their return, and they've been a thorn in her side just as well as some of the other women on the roster. Don't give me the whole she's on Raw stuff because it can be a one night only thing. It can be, a tit for tat type of deal that Aldis and Pierce make. We don't really know what's going to go on. So it's always something that could happen. Again, will it be Survivor Series traditional elimination? Will it be War Games? We'll have to see here in the coming weeks. My biggest beef with this SmackDown was that they pulled the trigger and had Santos and Asuka turn heel on the same night. I feel like the way they should have done it is have one of them turn heel here and one of them turn heel at Survivor Series. And I feel like Santos, even though the seeds have been planted for a minute, Santos probably would have been better saved for Survivor Series because you could have booked a Ray versus Logan Paul rematch at Survivor Series, and then you could have had Santos truly make his statement, make his presence known by pulling the trigger and turning him full-blown heel at a major PLE. Flip side of the argument is you could have strung Asuka along, had Santos turn heel here on SmackDown, since it's one we've been waiting for, and strung the Asuka story out until Survivor Series, and had her pull the trigger in the middle of War Games, the elimination match, whatever, and then align herself with Damage Control. Kind of pull a Rock here. And after he wins the title, he joins the corporation. After letting everybody believe that he was with the people all this time. Have Asuka team up with Bianca, Charlotte, and Shotzi against Bayley, Io, Kairi, and Dakota. And yes, I understand Dakota is still on a heavy knee brace. She may or may not be ready for action yet, but she could be the first one eliminated from the Damage Control side. The bell rings. Everybody is trying to get cleaned out of the ring. One of the baby faces hooks her, rolls her up 1, 2, 3. They're automatically up 4-3. You've gotten her out. She hasn't taken any really serious bumps that would have injured her. Baby faces are made to look strong, which is all the more reason why when Asuka turns heel at the end and costs him the match, it's that much more devastating. Hell, have Asuka be the one to pin Dakota to make it seem like, yeah, I'm here. Nobody can see Asuka. Nobody's ready for her. And then pull that trigger at the very end. That's how I would have done it. That was my only SmackDown issue. What did you guys think of SmackDown? Did you like the fact that they did the 2 heel turns on the same night? Do you agree with me about saving one for Survivor Series and doing one on SmackDown? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Once again, we're going to take a very quick 40-second commercial, and we're going to show you all the friends of the multiverse of media that you can follow, like, subscribe, join their YouTube channels, check out all their content. See you in 40 seconds. We are back. We've got all of those people that you can support and follow across the multiverse of media. Jeff says, definitely felt like too much, but I suppose it depends how the turns pay off, be it at Survivor Series or later. Guess that's the beauty of it. I can agree with you there and concede that. Emmanuel says, get it right, JJ. Asuka showing she is heel again. She's been heel for a good chunk of this run this year, ever since coming back as Asuka, but using her Kana persona. I feel like if they really wanted to make it more devastating, they should have waited and allowed the people to believe she was a face again. Again, drawing the comparison to The Rock. The Rock in the Nation was heel, but that time period between SummerSlam 98 and losing the Intercontinental title to Triple H in the ladder match and winning the WWF Championship in Survivor Series, the fans got behind him again and started to believe that he was one with the people. So that when he pulled that trigger and reaffirmed himself as a heel at Survivor Series 98, people were like, why, Rocky? Why? So even though it would have been a shorter time span, just a few weeks, allowing the fans to believe that Asuka had come back to the good side and then reaffirming that moment at Survivor Series when it mattered most, I feel like would have been better storytelling. So we're going to get into Collision now. Last program of the week to discuss. Andrade El Idolo and Daniel Garcia started things off for the show. CJ Perry came out after Andrade before Daniel Garcia and seems to have aligned herself with Andrade. We see Miro watching a television backstage, upset that his wife is aligned with Andrade. Great match, but it wasn't as fast-paced as I would have expected. Some great technical wrestling on display from both men. Andrade got the victory with the figure 8. I think I just would have liked a little bit more from this match. You know, both men are definitely capable. Both men are great technicians in the ring. Both men can wrestle the fast-paced style. I feel like this was too slow and methodical for what I would have expected from either man. I do hope we go somewhere with Miro having watched from backstage as Andrade aligned himself with CJ Perry. Hopefully we'll build to something at World's End. I think it's too soon to try to pull the trigger for something at Full Gear, but I feel like building towards World's End in a match between those two could be fantastic. We then had Nick Wayne versus Dalton Castle. Again, this was a decent match. It wasn't anything special. Good showcase for Nick Wayne, who got the win over Dalton. Again, I said last week, I just don't get Dalton Castle. There's just something about him that isn't connecting to me. I think last week I said he looks like Jack Black in John Morrison's body dressed in a peacock suit. I mean, just saying. We got Daniel in the house. What's up, Daniel? Good to see you. He says, I can see Andrade versus Miro happening soon, possibly at Revolution. The problem is Revolution isn't until March next year. That is not soon. AEW looks like they're going to start going to monthly pay-per-views. That's 4 pay-per-views away. I don't think they can carry it that long. I think at World's End is probably going to be the closest one because, again, Full Gear I think is too close. And then going back to the Asuka, says he would have waited for the Asuka turn at Survivor Series as well. We then had a Hangman Adam Page promo. And if I'm being completely honest, I zoned out when Hangman started talking. Not a fan of his, well documented. Kind of started ranting and raving about his upcoming match against Swerve and the payback he's going to dish out. It's going to be a Texas street fight now. So that's going to be interesting. We then had Rush and Dralistico versus the Workhorsemen. Again, this was another decent match. Nothing spectacular. It wasn't a banger or anything. I think the Workhorsemen put up a hell of a fight, but it was not enough. JD Drake went for a moonsault, missed, and that allows Rush and Dralistico to really finish things up, put the pressure on, and get the victory here. Daniel says you can build it long-term storytelling with the third match at Revolution. I agree with long-term storytelling, but I don't feel like it's the type of match that needs long-term. I'm all about long-term storytelling. We know that. I get down on WWE and AEW sometimes for hot-shotting the matches, but I feel like there's certain matches that need that long-term build, and there's certain matches that don't. Hell, a lot of the times the matches on AEW look like Tony Khan just pulled two names from a tumbler and were like, you guys are having a match. If we're being honest. So I think building it up to World's End is the best way to go, because then we can start 2024 with the fallout. Andrade versus Miro as a tag team could be interesting as well, but I feel like Miro is trying to distance himself from CJ, at least on television. We then got a House of Black promo, and Ricky Starks and Big Bill get challenged for the tag titles at Full Gear. Julia Hart says that once she defeats Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander will have to give her another shot at the TBS title as well. And then they kind of disappear into the darkness. We then go from that to a Chris Statlander interview, who's standing there with Willow Nightingale. And Stat says that Willow deserves a shot at the TBS title as well. So she agrees that whoever wins between Julia Hart and will get a shot at the TBS title come Full Gear. But she adds that this coming week on Dynamite, Red Velvet and Sky Blue are going to go toe-to-toe. And whoever wins between those two women will get thrown into that match as well. So it'll be a three-way at Full Gear between Chris Statlander, the winner of Julia Hart and Willow, and the winner of Sky Blue and Red Velvet. That should make things very interesting going into Full Gear. We had Roderick Strong versus Darius Martin. Roddy, of course, coming out to the ring in his wheelchair with his neck brace, gets into the ring, dominates Darius Martin, and then gets the pinfall. The Kingdom comes in, they put the neck brace back on him, and he sells like his neck is still injured. The Kingdom put the boots to Darius Martin post-match. The way they are milking this Roddy story is hilarious to me. We know now that Roderick is not injured anymore. We've suspected it for a while, but after watching that match, you know he's not injured. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get out of this and what triggers they pull to do this within the next coming weeks, hopefully by Full Gear. We then had Tony Khan and Bryan Danielson backstage, and they were kind of hyping All In 2024. And then they announced the Continental Classic, a 12-man tournament that will culminate with the finals at World's End. The tournament will begin on the Thanksgiving Eve Dynamite, and the championship finals will be at World's End. And the very first person that was announced to be in the tournament was none other, the American Dragon himself, Bryan Danielson. I feel like Tony is relying on tournaments a little too much lately, but at the same time, I'm curious to see what happens with this Continental Classic and who else is going to be in it, because it would be very easy at this point to say that with Brian essentially in his farewell year of wrestling should win this tournament. He is the best in the world. So win this Continental Classic tournament to prove that he is the best of the world. Daniel says he'd like to see Sky Blue become TBS champion. I agree. Honestly, the only one that I wouldn't want to see become champion is Red Velvet because she just came back. Julia Hart has been on a run this year. Only loss this year has been in her last challenge for the TBS title against Statlander. She's 13-1. I believe she went up 14-1 on Collision here. We haven't gotten to that match yet, but she's had a hell of a run this year. Willow Nightingale, I love her. She's so fun. She's bubbly. She became the first ever New Japan Strong Women's Champion earlier this year, defeating Mercedes Moné. Sky Blue, everybody loves Sky Blue. For reasons that have nothing to do with her wrestling ability, but I digress. She would be a great TBS champion too. Any one of them would be awesome. I'm just curious to see how they're going to go with it. But I'm good with any one of those three dethroning Stat to become champion. Goes on to say, I'm waiting for someone to say Roderick like Roddy has been doing lately for Adam and Dasha. Jeff says, how about announcing a tournament for, I don't know, the vacated Ring of Honor World TV? Oh, I'm sorry. Tony Khan has booked himself 3 ways from Sunday. Never mind. Yeah, especially with Final Battle coming up in less than a month. Like, hello, at least do something so that you can crown a new TV champion at Final Battle. So after the announcement of the Continental Classic, we got Julia Hart versus Willow, and this was a tremendous women's match, but unfortunately, it was predictable. Julia Hart got the win and will challenge the winner of Red Velvet and Sky Blue, as well as Chris Statlander for the title at Full Gear. Again, prior to Willow defeating Mercedes Moné because Mercedes got injured, you go back and you watch Willow on TV, and Willow had more or less been a jobber on AEW television. When she became New Japan Strong Women's Champion, defeating the former Sasha Banks in the tournament final, she got a solid push. She's still getting a push. She's still getting victories here and there, more so than she did prior to winning the New Japan Strong Women's title. But she's not being pushed as hardcore as Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and some of the other women that are on the roster, Toni Storm. I think it's sad, but again, like I said, it was predictable. That was my only issue with this match. We then had a Big Bill and Ricky Starks promo talking about all the teams that are gunning for them. And then we had another squash match between Powerhouse Hobbs and some dude named Alexander. Okay. Don Callis then cut a promo talking about Wednesday in Ontario, California. And FTR cut a promo saying that their road to the titles that they lost and reclaiming the gold begins now. So it has been made official that at Full Gear, it will be LFI challenging Ricky Starks and Big Bill. FTR is in the match, as well as the House of Black. 4-way match for the tag titles. And keep this in mind. The Young Bucks still have an opportunity at the tag titles anytime they want it. So if the Young Bucks can get past Omega and Jericho, they could straight up pull a Money in the Bank and cash in immediately after those matches and still walk out of Los Angeles, California, basically their hometown, with the tag titles. I don't like it. I don't want to see it. But that's how they can still make it happen, considering that the Bucks are booked in a match earlier in the evening. Main event time, and it was Lance Archer and the Righteous versus Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Sting. At the end of the day, this match was just to build cohesion. Darby, Sting, and Adam never worked together before. Big trios match coming up at Full Gear against Christian, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus. Needed to have a match to establish them as a team. Good match, decent match, predictable match. Babyfaces get the win. Post-match, Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne come out onto the ring ramp, start jaw-jacking, and the show goes off the air. Jeff asks, this is for the AEW World Tag Titles? Just checking, because I know MJF is a World Tag Champ, but that might be Ring of Honor, and he's on his own for now. And I've gone cross-eyed. Yeah. MJF and Cole are the Ring of Honor Tag Champions. Big Bill and Ricky Starks are the AEW World Tag Team Champions. So this is for the AEW Tag Titles. And it's part of why MJF is defending the ROH Tag Titles on the pre-show, because they want to give him plenty of time to recuperate after having that match before going out there in the main event against Switchblade Jay White. All in all, I'd say it was a good weekend of professional wrestling. Predictability, I think, plagued quite a few of the shows this week, if I'm being blunt. The double heel turn, I feel, kind of convoluted SmackDown just a little bit, so I'm not giving any one show a pass, being a little bit critical of all those involved. But I'd say probably a solid B combined for all the shows this weekend. Curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Going to take our final commercial. Again, little quick 40-second spot. Going to show you all the watch-alongs that are coming up, starting with this Friday across the entirety of the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media. See you in 40 seconds. Botch. Forgot to take that down during the video. So much in store coming up, kicking off this Friday across the Multiverse of Media. It's going to be a fun time, to be sure. And again, we've got so much coming up the rest of the week. In just a little over an hour, Jeff and I will be back to do the top 10 non-Disney animated movies. Again, that Russo swerve, bro. Get it in early, bro. Swerving people. Not going to be expecting that swerve, bro. How you going to do animated movies, bro, and they're not going to do Disney movies, bro? That'll be, again, at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. Make sure that you take note. On Wednesday will be Talk Wrestling with Jeff Meacham instead of Thursday. Greg Cherry is going to be not broadcasting on Wednesday. He's going to be doing his show on Thursday instead. So Jeff is going to take the time slot on Wednesday. And then the Greg Cherry show will be normal time on Thursday. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We've got Stat Boy Sports Bar, of course, tomorrow. Normal time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. We've got Simply Predicting coming up on Thursday. We're going to be Simply Predicting Full Gear. That's 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. And then the Friday Night War, kicking off at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern on Friday. And all that leads up to Full Gear / Disney Oki, which will be beginning its coverage at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Renegade, why are you starting that early? That's insane. Because we're going to have our own on-site correspondent, Datilla, will be at the Fabulous Forum in Los Angeles, California, to join us for the pre-show with all the hype, the hullabaloo, the buzz going around the forum. If y'all remember, earlier this year, Jeff and I were at the forum for Dynamite, and I popped into the live stream. James and Noah were doing the watch along call for it, and I broke news that somebody had been snuck in, and we theorized who it could be. And I said the name Adam Cole. And then Adam Cole ended up making his return on that Dynamite. So I speculated and broke news. Datilla very well could end up doing the very same. If she keeps her eyes and ears open for stuff coming across the PA systems and the walkie-talkies, we may have a little bit of hush-hush information that we can break on the pre-show, just like we did for that Dynamite back in January. Jeff says with any luck, he will still have live content on Thursday, or at the very least, live to tape that pertains to AEW, but you digress, and you know it. And Jeff says, we even scooped our buddy Denise Salcedo. Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. We tried to tell her about it. She didn't report it. We got it out there first because it's all about that boom, baby. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition of For the Love of Wrestling. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel when I review tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and joining us today. And until then, I will catch you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.